We're joined now by Bob Costas of NBC Sports. Bob, good morning to you.
Hey, Matt.
It's a little like watching an accident in slow motion over the last couple of weeks. You know when the event is over, somebody's going to be hurt. You don't know whether it's just A-Rod, the Yankees, Major League Baseball, or all of the above. What's the most likely scenario today?
Well, first of all, I think that baseball made a wise move because they took some of the distractions off the table. It was widely assumed by all of us that Bud Selig would suspend A-Rod under both the terms of the joint drug agreement and the collective bargaining agreement through the integrity of the game clause. And if he did the latter, then it would have foreclosed the possibility of an appeal. And that would have created perhaps some sympathy for A-Rod because his camp could claim that he was being treated unfairly and being denied due process. Now Selig takes himself out of it as a distraction. He removes or at least blunts the criticism that this is all about the contract and the Yankees recouping as much of the money as possible. He says, look, go ahead and play. We'll try to expedite this and get it in front of an arbitrator as soon as possible, and you'll get a fair hearing. It's possible, though, that they could drag it out, that A-Rod's side could drag out the preparations long enough that he could play in the 50 or so games remaining this season, and then the arbitrator would decide in the offseason to uphold the suspension for 2014. And that seems to me like the most likely outcome.
And since this term, best interest of baseball, is being thrown around so much, just look at the scenario, okay? A-Rod stays on the field. He plays during an appeals process. But, Bob, what happens every time he takes the field in every city around the league, and what happens when they put microphones in his face after every game? Isn't all the talk going to be about steroids, scandal, and A-Rod?
There's no question about that. But baseball didn't want to open up the possibility of being sued outside their own disciplinary process, which includes an arbitrator, and proceedings in front of an arbitrator are confidential. Let's say if A-Rod's camp decides to declare all-out war, and they might have if they had no other ability to appeal, and it goes into a court of law, then it gets extremely messy. So baseball knows that especially on the road, A-Rod's going to be booed, that it's going to be a circus tonight in Chicago. But if A-Rod is smart about this, his comments are going to be as conciliatory as possible, and he's going to keep saying, we'll just let the appeal play itself out. I'll tell my side of the story during that appeal, and that'll hopefully, at least from his standpoint, take some of the circus atmosphere down a notch.
You already kind of answered my question about the response you expect tonight in Chicago when he takes the field. Wild
booing.
Let me just ask you this. When Major League Baseball announces the suspensions today, will they also be asked to reveal some of the evidence against A-Rod and other players?
They did not in the case of Ryan Braun. If the other players do what Ryan Braun did, which is accept the penalty rather than appealing, then baseball will not reveal the evidence, at least not at this time. And they're not required to, even if there's an arbitration hearing, even if there is an appeal, they're not required to reveal that information. So what they have said is that they have what they believe is a convincing case against A-Rod that includes not only his use of performance-enhancing drugs, but that he tried to subvert their investigation into it and maybe even tried to recruit some other players to biogenesis, and that for all those reasons, his penalty will be more severe than the others who are expected to get 50 games, which just about equates to the remainder of the season at this point.
And we're going to know a lot more by the end of the day. Bob, always good to see you. Thanks very much.